Yeah, we do. Yes,
Just waiting for the onliners to show up.
They're all there. Go ahead.
Okay, we got it. Okay, so welcome to the Comox Valley Recreation Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 22nd. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Comox First Nations. And we have 3 delegations today. We did tell one of the delegations that they would start at 2. So what we'll do is we'll go through the 2, then we'll start the meeting, and at 2 o'clock, we'll go back to the 3rd delegation if that's good with everybody. Did we want to vary the agenda to make that work?
Sure.
Okay. And all those in favor? Everybody's happy with that? Okay, so our first delegation is Multicultural Swim Series and is Julie Cambajan. How's that? Okay, we'll give you about 10 minutes. So I got the stopwatch started right now.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Cambajan, and I'm the coordinator for the Welcoming Communities Coalition. I want to thank you so much for having us here today. This is Susan Bullock, who most of you probably know, and she's the manager of CVRD recreation programs. So just so some of you know a little bit about the Welcoming Communities Coalition, we are a local immigration partnership, and we're coordinated through the Immigrant Welcome Center. We're mandated to collaborate with key people and organizations, including local residents, community groups, businesses, and government agencies to create a more welcoming and inclusive community. We were launched in June 2016, and we're currently the local immigration partnership for Campbell River and the Comox Valley. There's 19 organizations across BC and 88 across Canada, all supported by Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada. Anyone can be a coalition member. Membership is free. Our coalition's work is guided by our volunteer steering committee, and they represent a variety of sectors and volunteer immigrant advisory table. Members can sign a letter stating that they believe in the importance of the community building, diversity, and inclusion. Currently, our membership is 34 members in the Comox Valley. Members can be organizations or they can be individuals. Some of our individual members include Councillor Will Cole Hamilton and Arzina Harmon. And also not on this slide is the Comox Valley Recreation Center is a member as well. So you can see that we collaborate with many of the key organizations in the Valley. So today we're here just to thank you. We want to say thank you to the Recreation Department for their support of our organization and the families we serve. And a special thank to Susan. The Multicultural Family Swim was a collaboration between Susan, myself, and Joanne from the school district. We constantly hear that social isolation is an important need for our new immigrant families. One of our priorities was to help newcomers feel less isolated and more connected to the community. Our immigrant families have challenges when it comes to meeting for socialization, making more friends, and emotional support. And they also would like and desire to have friends within the community, not just within their immigrant community. The Recreation Department provided us space and times, including the wave room, and the BC Gaming Grant enabled us to hire a coordinator to continue the program. And would also like to mention that Thrifty Foods was a great supporter, and they donated $1,500 worth of gift cards so that we could have food at each of the events. Mid-year, we did a survey, and it found that 73.7% of the respondents that attended made a new friend or acquaintance. 42% said the program introduced them to a new activity. 42% also said that it made the pool more accessible to their family. 95% said that they would register again. And 42% said they have lived in the valley for 3 years or less. So it gives you a good idea of what the benefits of the program were, and also the people that we serve. At the initial swim in September, we had 86 attendees. In October, we had 92, and in November, we had over 100 people attend. As I mentioned, Immigrant Welcome Center, since the initial 3 months, has now been able to hire a coordinator, and she's been able to expand the program. And we also at Immigrant Welcome Center do offer social groups, including our conversation clubs, book clubs, and the now newly volleyball drop-ins that Susan has organized. So what's next? The water volleyball for teens and young adults. This program is an opportunity for teens and young adults who are new in the Valley to meet other young people who are immigrants and refugees, as well as longtime residents. It'll be free for immigrant and refugee families to reduce barriers to access. The try-it days are in June, and then the program starts in the fall. And there's just some of our photos from our April swim session. And I would take any questions if you have any for me or Susan.
Thanks for the report. Can I see? Sorry, can I see online? I don't see any questions. Oh, Doug Gillian has a question. Could I get you?
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks for the presentation, Julie. It's great to hear that you're making this programming available to people, and I'm sure it's very much appreciated. I'm just curious about the level of swimming acumen among newcomers. I'm always amazed by the number of Canadians who don't actually know how to swim if they grew up somewhere where they didn't have access. And so are swimming lessons a feature of this program, or are you finding that most people actually know how to swim?
You want to?
Part of this, it provides an opportunity for us to promote our LEAP program. So the person that's helping organize it from their agency is helping people apply for the LEAP program. So if price is a factor, then people are encouraged to sign up for swim lessons. The first trip is to get them to the pool, have a positive experience, and then encourage them to sign up for adult or children's swim lessons.
Great. Well, thanks very much for all the great work that the Society is doing and the partnerships with the regional district on this initiative. Much appreciated.
And then we can move on to Director Grieve.
Thanks very much. Well, with over 500,000 new immigrants coming into Canada per year over the next 4 or 5 years, I'm just wondering how much support we're getting from our federal government.
That's not something I could answer, but we could get back to you. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, just the fact, is there funds flowing through from the feds? as well
For this particular program or programs in general?
for recreation programs. Yeah,
Yes, there are.
there are some.
Yes.
Okay, because I remember when our MP Rachel Blaney was basically in this position with the immigrant welcome, and it was fairly meager back then. So hopefully it's improving as well, because we really need to support our newcomers and welcome them into the country and help them with their language skills and social skills and all that stuff. So congratulations on what you do. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions, so thank you very much for your presentation, and a motion to receive, please. And all those in favor? And none opposed, so we shall move on. So next presentation is Lush Valley Food Action, Carly Van Osh and Marita Prato. All those in favor? Carrie, we usually do it after, but that's okay. Now we'll do it twice. Okay. Thank you, and you have 10 minutes. Oh.
Thank you. Very loud. Okay. We really appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today about a project that's happening at the exhibition grounds that you might not yet know about. So we wanted to share that. So our objectives today are just to raise awareness around this project, to showcase the benefits and the value in alignment with your goals. We are looking to request discussion around a partnership agreement and support for the current season. So I'll pass it over to Carly. Oh, and we also just acknowledge that this project is happening in unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation.
Okay, so Lush is a food justice organization servicing the Comox Valley. It's the only food security organization that's regional in scope. The Solemn Gardens serve our mandate to teach food skills, engage the community in resilient local food, and increase access to nourishing local food for all. So just to get situated, the Solemn Gardens are located on the CVRD exhibition grounds on Headquarters Road, across from Vanier Secondary. It's a 3rd-acre plot adjacent to the farmers market parking lot. So it's just in the bottom right corner there. School District 71 is the current leaseholder of the plot. To the best of our knowledge, in 2017, the Mid-Island Farmers Institute created an educational garden in the space. By 2019, the land was sitting fallow, which means it wasn't being used. Lush began working the site in 2020 and continues to maintain and work the land till present. So our primary drivers in the Solemn Gardens are to create a productive site while focusing on delivering agriculture education. We deliver programming to and with seniors, youth, and the community at large, focusing on teaching food skills and increasing access to local agriculture. While doing this work, we incorporate infrastructure repair, maintenance, and development. So the work that Lush is doing in these Solemn Gardens aligns with several of the CVRD strategic drivers, namely climate change mitigation and adaptation, food security and local agriculture, and community resilience and education and engagement. So with climate change mitigation and adaptation, in 2021, Lush was the recipient of the Road to 2030 funding. We engaged a group of 12 youth in a 6-week permaculture design course. The culmination of this course was the planting of a native food forest with over 200 species. We put a call out to the community and had 30 volunteers show up to participate in a community planting day, in addition to our 12 youth who were in the 6-week program. So part of the climate change mitigation and adaptation, this native food forest will act to sequester carbon as plants grow and produce biomass. Their roots will be able to reach deeper into the soil profile to access nutrients and water, while providing organic matter that acts as fertilizer year over year. We've also created and installed new compost facilities in 2020. So the grounds are now a zero waste place, we reuse all of the waste that we produce in our activities, which also reduces our need for synthetic fertilizers. So food security and local agriculture, we deliver 56 workshop hours per year. These are teaching food skills to primarily seniors and youth and anyone who wants to be involved. Our gardens preserve biodiversity, promote seed saving, and protect heirloom varieties of the species that we're cultivating. So some of the agricultural installations that we've developed are our native food forests that I was talking about, hugelkultur beds. So these are made of sort of garden waste that's then used to build beds. So if you can see in the back of that photo, there's an apple tree that's just covered in blackberry. This was back in 2020 when we first took over the gardens. So we kind of excavated that apple tree and reused all of that blackberry as the base of our hugelkultur beds. So last year we got 100 pounds of potatoes from one of these beds, 70 pounds of cucumber the year before. So we're slowly turning from just excavating the garden and getting it back to a productive level. And now we're seeing sort of the results and seeing ourselves being able to produce food. So we also have the compost system that we've installed, restoring the fruit trees. And this year we've installed drip irrigation throughout the garden. So that will reduce our water consumption and help us produce more food. So the primary users of this garden space are seniors and youth. So we have a group of dedicated seniors that comes every week for a 2-hour work party. And then youth, we work with Vanier and their Aspire to Action students. We have two students working with us every week. We also have returning students from previous years who have continued to come work in the garden. We do a farm and forage camp each summer. This sees 20 participants who come for the week to learn food skills and to be in the forest and garden. So some of the benefits that these participants are seeing are reduced social isolation, active lifestyle, connection to each other and to place, and lifelong learning of food skills and food security.
So I wanted to really thank the CVRD and in particular the staff such as Jennifer who have supported us and School District 71 who I think have all really been encouraging of our work and of this project. Coming into our 4th season of growing food and offering free programs, we really felt it was important to come and let the CVRD Rec Commission know about the project. I'm not sure if everybody was aware of it. Lush Valley supports the program with about $14,000 to $20,000 a year that we raise ourselves to support wages, materials, honorariums for youth, etc. And without a tenancy agreement, so we don't have a tenancy agreement in the space, it's becoming a struggle to keep funding because often funders will not invest in a program where there is not an active tenancy agreement. And we have not asked for any financial support from the CVRD for this project up until an application a month ago to the Rural Community Funding. So we're asking the Rec Commission and the board to consider entering into a partnership agreement with Lush Valley around the Solom Garden that would include a lease agreement, that would include some funds for the site management and maintenance, as well as for the recreational and agricultural programs provided at the site. Considering that the exhibition grounds are ALR land, so agricultural land reserve, the Solom Garden, to our knowledge, is the only portion that is being used to grow food and provide agricultural education. So I believe that these values, food growing and education on ALR land, are in alignment with the CVRD's goals. I know this to be true. So I see an opportunity here for the CVRD to support and celebrate this project. My understanding is that Director Hardy spoke specifically to the idea of providing people access to CVRD lands for agricultural purposes. So this may be a great low-hanging fruit, perhaps. We do hold an agreement, a partnership agreement with the city of Courtenay. It was a 5-year agreement at the Share the Harvest Community Garden. We're in our 5th year. The agreement requires that we match funds, so we leverage existing funding. It also means that we need to provide reporting, which is quite in depth. So the city, or in this case, the CVRD, can use that reporting to show, the alignment of your goals. And we have also been in discussion with CVRD staff regarding Stonehenge Farm. So we would like to also have that be part of just the discussion. We're interested in that, some of that space for additional agricultural and educational activities. And I don't know how long the CVRD has owned that space. I know there's planning in process, but we would love to be considered to do more agricultural work there. And we just want to ensure that the space can continue to provide this myriad benefits, and we're asking for your help. So the first would be to look at negotiating some sort of partnership agreement when the lease comes up, which is in the fall of 2024. And the second would be, we hope that you might look at the Rural Communities Fund. We believe we won't be receiving any funding, and we'd love, now that you know about the project, to reconsider the possibility of some funding through that source. So I spoke to the opportunities, and we just want to say thank you. And if you have any questions.
So I know that staff has been working on this for a little bit. And did you want to add a little bit to this, Jennifer, and just give us a little update of what we're actually doing? I know there's some involvement with the school board and things, so I think over there.
Thank you, and through the chair. So staff have been in conversations with Lush over the email on the request in respects to the garden site on the exhibition grounds. And we are looking to circle back to that conversation in the fall of 2024. The school district is on a lease agreement, and if upon there is a clause in there that does say if mutually agreed upon, the school district can renew. If the school district has a decision to not renew, then there's other processes that staff have to follow first. And one of them may be putting out for an expression of interest. So you put out to the community, anybody who's interested in this piece of land or this piece of area here, please put in your proposal. And then we work towards any potential agreements at that point. So we're looking to circle back to that conversation late August, early September 2024. With Lush on that, unless we hear something sooner from the school district, then the process of putting it out into the community may be sooner.
Thank you. So if we were going to circle back, you would want a motion to give us a report back in September, October 2024?
Through the chair, yes, please.
Okay. So is there any questions? All right. Director Grieve.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just through the staff to Jennifer, it's odd that they talk about the Stonehenge property because, of course, originally the intent of that property purchase was to put an education agricultural focus facility on that property. And I'm just wondering, is this an opportunity to maybe move forward on something that could be a win-win for both the farming community and Lush Valley? Regarding an actual facility, I know that this has been in the works, and I beat this drum since 2015. And unfortunately, what I find is this: when it comes to this commission, if it doesn't involve a ball or a puck, it's really not their purview, and it never goes any further than that. So I'm just wondering, is this something that maybe we could motivate some other forces behind as well, and come up with something that would be suitable and sized right for the property? Because after all, the premise of buying that property was for a facility like this. Thank you.
Jennifer, if you might be able to speak to the the master planning that has happened for the exhibition grounds in general. I think that does factor into the future potential uses for the property.
Through the chair. So with the conceptual site design and the previous 2017 exhibition grounds master plan, it does factor in something along those lines to be able to work on those kind of processes. At this time, the steps that we're at when you look at our 5 and 10-year financial plan, we are currently at the improvement of the farmers market field and then working on some other areas and then getting to the point of moving the gardens over to the Stonehenge site. However, staff had spoken with Lush before and the concern of maybe moving that garden site was significant at the time. However, that is definitely something that's I think key in the staff's mind in respects to what can be done with that Stonehenge site and the exhibition grounds. James.
So Director Graves, do you have a follow-up on this particular question, or is this something new?
Well, it's related, yeah.
Okay, I'll skip to you first then.
Sorry, can I just
Oh,
add one? I'm sorry. Is that okay? Can I add just a comment? I don't think we were talking about moving the existing garden to Stonehenge. The Stonehenge opportunity would be in addition, because they serve different purpose. I think they could serve different purposes, but it's really to increase the overall food grown on the ALR land that's sitting fallow currently.
Well, of course, when you say ALR land, it's not necessarily farmland. My understanding is that is a gravel ridge for the most part. And if you know the history of the site, the topsoil was scraped off back in the 60s in order to pay for the debt for the curling rink. So I'm just wondering what soil types are there at that point in that area? Do you know if there's anybody done it? Haven't done that yet?
No, I mean,
Okay.
we've been sort of having this conversation, but haven't gotten anywhere. So we haven't invested in a lot, but we have, and I'm sorry, we don't have the other person who works on the land here that could probably speak more to that detail, but the belief is that we could build that soil.
Director Gettler.
Thanks. I actually wasn't aware of that program with the students for 2030. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. That's great. And I certainly support that program and more. It looks like it's bringing community together and really important educational factors in there for our community. So that's wonderful. I'd like to see that continue. I support that use of the lands there. I had a question about, just for my own curiosity, what native plant species make up the food forest?
We have a lot of kinnikinnick, we have hazelnuts, we have salmonberries. Trying to think now. We put in a bunch of salal, a bunch of wild rose. I could pull you up a list if you like.
No, that's cool. I just wanted to get an idea, and yeah, because I actually don't have that much knowledge about it, so it's good to hear. And I'd hopefully that program continues and we educate more people. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Really exciting to hear this. Just wondering, Mr. Chair, if you'd like to entertain a motion at this point for a staff report, or would that be coming later in the meeting? Still on receipt, okay.
Well, Director Graves so rudely interrupted me as I was starting that I'm not sure, did we actually vote on receipt or did we just? We haven't voted on receipt. Okay. Yeah. So we could vote on receipt now if you like. So all those in favor? Oh, Jolly Kerr's got his hand up. Okay. How do we do that on Zoom? Okay.
Sorry, not to speak to this. I have a question, Mr. Chair, for the delegation, not on the motion on the table.
Let's vote on receipt first, and then we can go back to that. So all those in favor of receipt? Any opposed? Okay, and then Director Joliker.
Yeah, thanks to the Lush Valley team for the presentation. I guess just to make it brief, I'm really excited to hear about all the different variety of programs that are being offered. My question specifically is around food security, and you mentioned the amount of food grown and produced on the property. I guess I'm curious, do you collect demographical information, or can you speak to where food goes? Whose mouths do they land in? Do we have any understanding in terms of which areas the folks who are receiving food live?
Yeah, sure. So the food that we produce gets distributed between volunteers, many of whom, as I stated, are seniors. They live, yeah, I'm not 100% sure where they live, but I could get that information for you. And then the remainder goes to Lush to be distributed in our good food boxes. So these are low cost or subsidized boxes that are distributed to people in the Comox Valley as well. So all of the food stays in the Comox Valley and gets distributed between volunteers and Lush programming. Food that's not up to the quality for our good food boxes will get used in our hot meal programs. So it will get given to our chef, who then cooks food for distribution with community partners.
So Director Kerr, did you have something else, or were you gonna just make the motion?
Make the motion.
Okay, so we'll move on to Director Hardy then.
Yeah, thanks. Through the chair, if I could, I'd like to maybe just ask a question to the acting CEO in regards to first and foremost, the activities of Lush Valley right now. If I understand from the presentation, they're taking place on School District 71 property, and hence the agreement is between Lush Valley and School District.
Just looking at Jennifer. Jennifer probably got the detail out, but I believe it is CVRD owned property, and we are leasing it to SD 71 at this time. And Lush Valley is operating the gardens on that site. Is that correct?
Through the chair, correct.
Okay, so we got a lease being leased. So that helps. That's helpful. The other question I have for James as well is in regards to this Spike Road Park, and I'm just wondering again at the end of the day if that might be a possible home for Lush Valley or some of the other organizations that approach the CVRD with regards to possible homes for gardens and agricultural opportunities. Thanks.
So the Spike Road property is the part of the One Spot trail network, and it was recently purchased last year. The Electoral Areas Committee looked at that parcel, that property, and determined that it would pursue a primarily conservation type approach for the use of that land. And so staff are now working away at what those steps might be. The property itself is located quite distant to any kind of community centers, and so I think the rationale in staff report was that it was because of that distance, it would pose some problems.
Go ahead.
I'll just leave it at that then. Thanks.
And then Director Greaves.
Just Director Hardy raises a good point. Other communities have what they call agri-parks. And as we purchase these lands, maybe that's something we could revisit in future, because the Spike Road property in particular is a farm, or was a farm, even though it borders on a big peat bog. There might be some opportunities there to look at the Harold Steves model, like they use in the Lower Mainland, where they actually turn parks into incubator farms and things like that. So a bigger discussion than we have here today, but certainly that's a really good point. We have to keep, I think, that vision as well, because as we move forward, land is precious, and that land actually is farmable. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other lights or any other hands up. So Director Kerr, did you want to make a motion for a staff report to come back in the fall of 2024? No, sorry. I forgot. I'm in charge.
You're doing great. Yes, that'd be great. Just to see this going forward and to answer some of the unanswered questions. I'd love to see a staff report on this to discuss at a future meeting.
Yeah, we got a seconder for that? And any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And opposed? None, so that carries. So thank you for your presentation, and hopefully we can move this forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we're going to next, yeah. Okay, seconder. And all those in favor? I forgot to ask for questions, but I don't think anyone had any.
Sorry, what are we voting on, Mr. Chair?
Sorry, we're on C, the resolution status report, and it's been moved and seconded if you had a question. We skipped down past that. We're going to get the tennis guys to come back later. You might not have been online when we did that. They thought they were coming for their presentation at 2 o'clock. So, all right. So all those in favor? And any opposed? Seeing none, we can move on to reports D, which is the Recreation Commission Strategic Planning and Capital Projects. So report dated May 18th, and seconder. Second, and where are we here? So it's for receipt. Have we got any questions?
Actually, Mr. Chair, Jennifer Zavinden, Senior Manager of Recreation Services, has a PowerPoint to introduce this staff report.
Okay. Oh, she's loading that, sorry.
Thank you. Through the chair. Staff are here today to provide an update on the engagement plan for the Rec Commission Strategic and Capital Development Engagement Plan and the process. And this report is for information only at this time. So as part of the Rec Commission Strategic and Capital Development process, the Comox Valley Regional District is seeking to inform the community on the next steps for the recreational capital planning. The previous staff report is attached to this on the agenda. With anticipated updates about the field and aquatic and ice planning on subsequent phases. The engagement planning and process is in action from April through to the end of June of 2023. The engagement process will include a kickoff and background review, development and presentation engagement map, materials development, so a roadmap, open house planning and delivery, online webinar planning and delivery, and a summary engagement into report for presentation to the Rec Commission in the fall. Here's a sample of the roadmap. To complete the work, the Comox Valley Regional District staff have engaged Zinc Strategies to provide support on the engagement activities. So social media posts, press release, and print radio advertisements, finalizing the roadmap with vision and capital milestones highlighted, utilize the Engage Comox Valley webpage to provide opportunity for residents to submit feedback on options and for staff to provide next steps for the process. Open house scheduled for June 20th, 2023, and an online webinar scheduled for June 21, 2023. Following the information sessions, again, a summary report will be presented to the Rec Commission scheduled for the fall of 2023. And the report will include any feedback residents have on the proposed options. And so maybe just lastly, staff want to reiterate that this process is for informing the public on what the outcome is from the strategic planning session and the next step decision points, which are on this roadmap that's being built for staff. So in closing, it's time for staff to focus on the next steps of these open houses and the future work and the next steps. And on that note, thank you, and staff are here for questions.
Thank you. I haven't got that. All right, so any questions? Seeing, Director Joliker, so I can see your hand there.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the presentation, Jennifer, on the engagement plan. Really happy to see all the activities laid out. It's a comment. One of the activities is listed here as happening on June 21st of this year, and that's National Indigenous Peoples Day. And so I'm just wondering, have we committed in any way, and are we able to push that to another date?
Through the chair, staff would like to take some time just to review that and come back with a response to that at a later date.
Okay, yeah, I just in noting that the board has committed funds and support to National Indigenous Peoples Day for Comox First Nation, and so I would imagine that we also would want to encourage our citizens to participate in any activities happening that day. So I'm looking forward to hearing a response from staff.
Should just maybe clarify the board has not yet committed funds to Comox for the National Indigenous Peoples Day. There is a recommendation on the board agenda tonight for the board to consider that matter, but it hasn't done that yet. Director Joel.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Okay, and then I see Director Kettler.
Thank you. So I was just wondering, there's a list of the reports, the aquatic strategy, sports field study, the ice allocation report, our corporate energy and emissions plan, and then the asset management facility condition report. But are we waiting for the greenhouse gas, a more detailed report on greenhouse gas emissions for future buildings above and beyond RCEEP?
Through the chair, yes. Before moving forwards with any of the potential capital projects listed here, those GHG studies have to be completed for both new and current facilities for that matter as well. So those are one of the first steps in particular for the ice arena and for the pool options, is those greenhouse gas studies need to be completed first.
Sorry, so where do they fit in the timeline that we were just going back to that last slide? Oh, maybe Lisa could help.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe while Lisa's, can I do it now? There we go. So the greenhouse gas studies, we begin with those this fall. So currently staff want to start rolling forwards with the sport field recommendations. And then this fall, once we've moved ahead with any sport field potential recommendations, then the greenhouse gas studies begin this fall, well before we get to the point of, any final thoughts behind what those future facilities could look like.
Okay, and is that before or after the ice plan?
Before.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then we have Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks. And realizing I missed the presentation there, but when I was reading the report, I think it'd be important to see the range of options as well for the GHG emission reduction. Elsewhere in Canada, there's rinks that have reduced their GHG by up to 90%, but there's a tag price to that. And I think the board, the commissioner will probably want to consider what level of GHG reduction we want to meet. I would say in order to meet our corporate emissions plan, because recreation produces 54% of our emissions. So yeah, it'd be great to see the range of options, because some of those deep retrofits are very deep and others can be a little more shallow. And I think that would definitely influence how I look at new facilities, as I've mentioned in the past. Thank you.
Through the chair, staff will ensure that when we come back with the greenhouse gas reports, there are the various options there, costing and time frame and those kinds of things.
Thank you. Okay, and Director Hillian.
Thanks, Chair. As staff will know, I'm quite interested in the possibility of converting the existing pool sports center into an indoor facility for court sports. And so I'm hoping that the greenhouse gas report will speak about how that potential conversion would influence the overall plan. And I'm also hoping that we might have some options around green roofs and other similar technologies that could potentially be incorporated in any movement to reduce our GHG emissions. Thanks.
Thank you. Through the chair, if staff could just make one quick mention with converting the sports center pool area into potential other uses. The heat reclaim system that's currently in place, it heats both the air in the pool and within the change rooms and out into the lobby, as well as the pool water. So that process would carry on and would support the heating of that space to whatever use that we would look to, staff would look to work to change it to. However, there's always the opportunity for more improvements than where we're currently at.
Okay, so I don't see any other hands up, so we're on receipt. All those in favor of receipt? And opposed? Seeing none, that carries, and we're on to number 2, 2023 Sports Field Study Final Report for receipt. And the seconder? Second, and Jennifer, did you have a report for this as well?
Through the chair, I do.
All right.
Through the chair, thank you. Staff are here today to provide the sports field study final report for the Comox Valley Regional District Rec Commission's consideration. In January, staff presented the draft sport field strategy, and in February, staff provided the final piece of information, which is the technical appendix. March and April were spent reviewing the document and ensuring it meets all the needs and answers all the questions each municipality had for any fields, as well as the school district, for any fields they may own or provide maintenance and support to. We'll just go quickly back in time a touch. RC Strategies was brought on board and began working with our municipal partners in the School District 71, Comox Valley Schools, to assess the current inventory, condition, and allocation of sports fields, ensure current needs and future growth can be accommodated, and review the field booking and allocation processes. The sports field study work commenced in June 2022, with the state of fields condition assessment completed post-sports season through the summer and fall. The process supported all partnering municipalities in the Comox Valley Schools requirements for accuracy in the outcome. The next steps in implementing the findings from the report include confirm preferred site location for an additional all-weather turf field at George P. Vanier Secondary School. The Comox Valley Schools are aware of the benefits of locating a second artificial turf field at this location and may consider the field location in the spring of 2023. Begin the all-weather turf field site and cost analysis work, pending Comox Valley School support. Work with the City of Courtenay to lead the process for developing a new approach for the sports field bookings and allocation in consultation with all partners who own and manage fields. And maybe at this time, I might like to add, city staff have indicated their support and desire to lead this work for the Comox Valley and in partnership with Comox specifically, as it aligns with their fees and charges review, as well as a motion from council on reviewing their field usage and application. And information will be going through the Courtenay City Council in the early summer regarding this project and seeking council endorsement to proceed. And lastly, staff will review the background and prepare background information and prepare a report to consider extending an invitation to the Village of Cumberland to join the Comox Valley Track and Field Services. So in closing, this wraps up the sports field study process, allowing staff to now focus on the future, working on the next steps reviewed in the previous slide for the all-weather turf field and sport fields. And staff can take questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any questions, so we're on receipt. All those in favor of receipt? Opposed? So that motion carries, and then we have a recommendation. Move the recommendation. And questions on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And opposed? That carries, and so we've got about 10 minutes before our tennis court guy shows up. So if we want to take a quick break, and when he gets here at about 2 o'clock, we will resume the meeting then. Okay, we got the board back. Everybody's here.
I think so. Correct. Trustee Howe had to leave.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, everybody ready to roll here? Okay, so we'll just bring the meeting back to order, and we have Comox Valley Indoor Multi-Sport Tennis Facility. We have Peter Dutton to give us a presentation. So Peter, you have 10 minutes. We need you to use it because they can't hear you online.
On the base.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, hit it again, sorry.
Hang on.
Hello,
There you go.
there you go. You can tell I'm not used to this, but I'm happy to be here. Hello and good afternoon. Let's play year round. I'm here with a just cause, a good cause, a cause that will only benefit our community for years to come. My name is Peter Dutton, and I'm a resident of Comox Valley. I'm here to promote the idea of a multi-sport tennis complex. Before I start, however, I would like to give thanks first to the Recreation Commission for accepting my request to be a delegate today. Also, Jennifer Zimbinden, who, when I met with her on February 7th, was welcoming, helpful, and encouraging. To Brenda Dean, who started this initiative 10 years ago, and who is happy to lend her name and experience to this project. Also to the tennis communities from Victoria to Campbell River. To Daryl Neville, who's here for all the Tennis Canada information, which is attached to the agenda. A quick note that all facts and figures from Tennis Canada are based on building 4 indoor tennis courts. Lastly, to everyone who has come here today to show their support for this initiative. In fact, everyone I've spoken with said this project is a good one and long overdue. Let's play year round. A Comox Valley indoor multi-sport tennis facility would benefit our whole community. It would be sustainable and over time make money. I truly believe this. Outside of dollars and cents, it would help build a stronger, healthier community. Building such a facility would only encourage people of all levels, abilities, ages, regardless of their sport, to play year-round. Physical literacy, 12 months a year. There are many examples of multi-sport tennis facilities nearby, including Salmon Arm, Swantula, Arbutus Ridge, Vernon, and all those in Victoria, of which need further review. But the most intriguing to me is the tennis facility on Salt Spring Island, where with a population of just 11,000, they built 1 covered tennis court, paid it off in 6 years, and have now built another covered court. I believe Comox Valley can support 4 covered tennis courts. Tennis Canada suggests that once capital costs are paid off, 1 covered tennis court properly managed can generate $10,000 to $40,000 per year per 40,000 people. We have the numbers. Comox Valley now has a population of over 75,000, Campbell River 35,000, the Parksville Qualicum area 25,000. In 2013, there were roughly 6,000 school kids in 2 of these districts, Campbell River and Comox Valley. Now, including the Parksville Qualicum area, there are now nearly 20,000 elementary and high school students, a massive, massive user group. This brings me to the possible user groups. Topping the list, of course, would be tennis players. I've been in touch with tennis clubs and players from Victoria to Campbell River, and all have expressed their support. Tennis is currently one of the most popular sports in the world, and this interest is only increasing. I spoke with a neighbor the other day who gave me details about a new elementary school tennis program. 3 times the expected number of children signed up. I have spoken with special needs groups, senior groups, Indigenous groups, Scott Peterson, who runs summer pay to play outdoor activities for groups, and other groups, all of whom have shown an interest and encouragement for this initiative. A group I keep bumping into are senior walkers. I live on the Seaside Royston Trail, and all of them have told me that they would welcome an indoor walking, running track. Many do not walk in the winter because of poor weather, light, and security. So to take 4 tennis courts one step further, let's put a walking track around these 4 courts. Location options to build this facility seem limited, but I don't believe enough thought has gone into this. Comox Valley Community Center on Knoll has a great field beside it, but I've been told that this area would not work. Robb Street and Anderson Courts also, apparently, I'm not a part of that, but were suggested that they were trying to be covered, but it's too much of a residential setting. People don't want such a structure near their apartments. Lewis Park, I believe, is also being considered to cover, but I'm told, and I don't know whether this is true, that the land is not stable enough to accommodate a structure to cover 4 tennis courts. Which brings me back to the area of Comox Valley Recreation Center and GP Vanier Secondary School. I say back because in Brenda Dean's 2013 proposal, this site was suggested as a possible site for indoor tennis. And I quote from her proposal, "The community partner meeting demonstrated a very strong desire to pursue an indoor tennis court facility, and everyone agreed that GP Vanier Secondary School was a good potential site. Early on in the discussions, administration representation was that the school district would not have capital funds available to contribute to the construction project, but like the running track and new turf field, would consider providing land. I would ask that this concept be again considered, because for this project to gain ground, we need land. The benefits of this location is that there's already the required infrastructure in place: parking, showers, change rooms, gym, administration offices, and a reception desk. It is also already regarded as a well-established sports hub. 2, there would be no residential interference with traffic, noise, or the size of structure needed to cover 4 tennis courts. Once we can acquire land, either by donation, a lease agreement, however we can make it work, we can start looking at funding ideas, and I believe there are many. Just one example was written up in the Parksville Qualicum Beach newspaper last month, and I quote again, "The Regional District of Nanaimo just built a new sports court at the Jack Bagley Field Park, as well as a washroom building, a pathway, and landscaping." The regional district received a $500,000 grant from the Canada Community Revitalization Fund. I have a list of other possible ways to raise funds, which I won't go into, but for this initiative, and I think many are viable. I can detail those if you wish. In conclusion, I would like to recognize your current sports mandates, which I know include water, ice, and grass, but I am respectfully asking that an indoor multi-sport tennis complex also be given top priority. To that end, I would like to see a staff member be put into motion to help me and others move this initiative forward, not just for the benefit of our community now, but for many generations to come. Let's play year-round. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Have we got any questions from anyone? Director Hillian.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Peter, for the presentation. I think you may have phoned me as well. My apologies for not calling you back.
No problem. I just was phoning as many people as I could.
That's what I gathered, yes.
You were a part of discussions, I believe, with Shirley and Shane.
Well, I certainly think it's a great idea to have an indoor tennis facility, and I'd like to see us move in that direction. I know it's been an idea in the community for many years. Of course, the devil's in the details. You mentioned the one of the most crucial features, land. But I'm just wondering if you've got any cost estimates on what it would actually cost to build, I guess, basically a dome to cover a
soft cover, I'd be told in the appendixes, you have 6 of them, which are attached to the agenda, and I have hard copies here, but for a 4 courts, they're suggesting with a soft cover. I would like to see a more permanent cover, not a soft cover. A soft cover over 4 tennis courts, they're estimating to be $700,000.
Okay, and the other thing I'm curious about, there's some data in the reports that you presented about the popularity of tennis, but I'm just wondering how many people are active in the tennis community in the Valley right now.
I don't have those numbers. All I'm going by is some of the information that Tennis Canada has given me, and they're suggesting that there is a great deal of interest in the game, that millions of Canadians play tennis. A great deal of them do play on this side of Canada just because of the weather. But I think, to take a young group, elementary students, and then have a new program where 3 times the number of students sign up for a sport that probably many of them haven't even tried yet, I think is an example of what we need to look forward to. And I understand that the tennis courts probably won't happen tomorrow, even though I'd like them to. But I think that I think we missed the mark by not continuing with the 2013 initial proposal by Brenda Dean. And here we are 10 years later. And I think it would be a mistake to be 10 years later down the road, where are we at, 2033, and not have such a facility. I truly believe.
And Chair, just a final question. Have any of the courts that you've seen in your research around the country had a user pay model, private public partnership, anything like that? Or are these all facilities that are available to the general public at no cost?
No, I think that most of the ones that I highlighted are pay to play.
Right. So that's where revenue could potentially be generated, but not
Absolutely.
to the point that the facility pays for itself. Although I think you said the Salt Spring Island one, they've been able to.
They paid for itself. So, when I started this initiative, it was really just about tennis. But the more I talked to the community, so I included multi-sports, because I believe that if we can get clubbers, I'd like 2, at least 3 completely designated tennis courts, because we're the ones that are moving this initiative forward. But it would be incredible to have space where we could have, multiple sports, whether the lines come out of the ground from lights that people could change the setting for pickleball, for badminton, for many others, or just clear the space so there's no lines and people could play. I mean, I've talked to someone who runs the wheelchair basketball. I've talked to many people who said that more indoor space for winter play be available. The other thing which people have asked me, said, what happens about summer when people are playing outside? Well, I know plenty of people now that want to play tennis inside when it is hot because the sun's getting too hot. The other element of outside play is wind. Tennis players don't like wind. To be in a controlled environment, whether it's sunny or not, or rainy, that I just see play for indoor, regardless of weather, feasible.
Thanks very much.
Okay, and we'll move on to Director Kettler and then McCollum.
Thank you, Chair. I was just thinking it's good timing for you to come. Obviously, we're doing our strategy now and trying to figure out what our future facilities are going to look like. So it's a good time to come present to us. I guess I have more questions about demands like Director Hillian, because we were just discussing earlier the possibility of closing one of the pools and making it into indoor floor space. But I think that would probably house a maximum of 2 tennis courts and probably not much more than that. So is the demand there for that? And then if it isn't more multi-sport because the tennis courts are taking up, is that also a problem?
Can I say something? I did consider presenting that as part of my proposal because I think there was a lot of talk about the possibility of having a tennis court. I went to go look at the pool because I hadn't seen it a couple of months ago. I don't know whether 2 tennis courts would go in there, but I also felt that because of our numbers in Comox Valley, that we would be selling ourselves short. So that is why I didn't present the idea that tennis could take over the indoor pool. I think that venue is much better suited for another sport, and I won't tell you which sport that is, but it's the fastest growing sport in the world. But I just think that I'm asking for something that I think, in other words, 4 tennis courts, indoor tennis courts, that I believe over time and a short period of time will bring money back into our community.
Okay, so you're not envisioning that pool space?
We will take it. No, absolutely. We will say, no, don't get me wrong. I don't, if that's in the interim while we build the 4 courts, I'm all over it, but I didn't want to, I just think that the community can afford 4 tennis courts. So I didn't want to sell ourselves short, but by all means, if you figure that is what the best we can do at this present time, then of course we would use that venue for tennis courts.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll move on to online with Director McCollum.
Thanks, Chair. This is the first time I spoke today. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. We can hear you.
Excellent. Good to hear. Peter, thank you very much for coming and presenting to the Rec Commission today. I think it's really valuable for us to hear from different user groups about not just needs, but ideas and imagining what other ways we can meet recreation needs in the community. So I really appreciate hearing from you today. I also want to say that I've played indoor racket sports for 25 years, being a long time squash player. And I can certainly relate to a lot of the positives that you pointed out around wanting to play indoors, even in summer months for a variety of reasons. So I think you've made some excellent points that it wouldn't just be a winter facility. I also started playing squash in a public facility in Victoria that was ran by the city of Saanich, and it was developed in a rec center, but the squash sports were ran by a club, as well as I think there was 4 indoor tennis courts and a big soft bubble, much perhaps like what you're envisioning. But the key piece to me is that these were both very well used, well managed, and had a lot of use both in day and evening because there was a robust club environment that was, getting membership, offering lessons, running leagues, running, a variety of player ladders. And I'm curious if you feel that currently, I mean, I don't really have any experience with the tennis community here in the Comox Valley, but do you see this facility as something that there is like club capacity in place to take on and ensure that there is like good use of a facility in terms of developing players and providing, you know, opportunities for new people to come to the game? Can you speak to that at all?
I will try. My understanding, talking with Brenda Dean, is that if you start setting up tennis programs, that people of all ages will participate in these programs. It's called, I believe, in service, which is instructing teachers to a little bit about teaching about tennis, and they transfer those skills over to teaching older students how to teach younger students. And it's this huge cycle of people within the community teaching each other tennis. I think if those courts were available and we set up the proper programs so that all ages, all abilities are made welcome, then I believe that we can fill those 4 indoor tennis courts. Did that answer your question?
I think so, but I just want to make sure that I'm not assuming anything from your answer. When you say we, do you mean like the local tennis club, or do you mean the Comox Valley Recreation Services? Just so I'm clear.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
She's asking if we meant you, the tennis club, or we meant we, the regional district, would be running.
I think that part of the mandate should be the regional district. I'm here as a resident of Comox Valley. It's not presently mandate to manage such a facility, the Comox Valley Tennis Club. There's massive interest in usership. That is where I need, and I'm happy to move in whichever direction. I'm very committed to this initiative, but I don't have the skill set. So that is why I come to you to help me. So I think it needs to be part of the community municipal mandate because I think it's only going to benefit the community. So I don't have the skill set, but I'd love to be working with someone who believes in this initiative, and I'm happy to stay committed until the building's built.
Thank you. So we have about 7 minutes. So, sorry, Melanie, we have about 7 minutes left, and we got other questions. So if you're quick.
Yeah, thanks for the time. Thanks for I'll let others go. Thanks for answering my questions, Peter.
Thank you.
I'll move on to Director Greaves.
Thanks very much, and I will be quick. Thank you very much, Peter, for coming forward. I would say you've got more friends in the community than you think. You talk about a multi-sport tennis facility. Let's play year round. And when I look at the material, it says the best practice approach is to preserve tennis courts for tennis participation and build and or allocate dedicated courts for pickleball. So now we're up to 8 courts. I would think that this is something I've been banging the drum on for a long time. It's a big multi-use building in the Comox Valley. I think you'll find you've got more friends than you think. A big multi-use building is something that, believe it or not, will never break even or make money. But you've got friends in places like Peter Park from the Comox Valley Sports Society that could be used for other things as well as kids indoor soccer, things like that, basketball, as well as a large venue for public events. There's support from Music Fest for a building like this. There's support from the Sid Williams Society for a building like this. It would house, as well as sports facilities, it would also have a venue that we lack in the Valley for exhibitions and shows and small conferences. So I would think if you're going to go ahead on this, I would dream big because you're going to get a lot more people piling in than you think. So thank you for bringing this forward. I've tried to bring this forward for the last 10 years, and because it doesn't involve a ball or a puck, I don't get anywhere. You have balls.
Very funny. Well done.
Okay, we'll move on to Director Kerr.
Great. Thank you, Peter, for the presentation. Just quick bias. I actually grew up learning how to play tennis in a domed bubble, pressurized bubble. So I understand, walking in from the snow into the bubble and out. So it's a great place to learn. Again, I do think you do have friends on this topic in the community. I have a quick suggestion and then a question. Suggestion is it would be, following Director Hillion's point, would be really good to understand the number of tennis players in the Valley, what the growth has been, across different age groups. So that might be some homework for you and the group to do. Like, I have an understanding of the junior program in Comox and the Comox group, but I don't understand, in Courtney and otherwise, what those numbers look like. So that would be helpful information for us to feed into our analysis. And my question is really, I was on the courts last month and spoke to Daryl Neville, who I understand is he here?
Yes.
Daryl, how you doing? And so the other option, I know Daryl, don't want to speak for you, but of going and pursuing a private option to find some land and build this facility as a revenue generating source. So one of you might be able to speak to that. Like, there's the option of the public option, and then there's also the private, and maybe there's a public-private partnership as well. And I'm wondering how you and the group is discussing this. Thanks.
I don't know. That's a good question, though. Now, going through the route of municipal, I'm thinking that there would be more funding available. I don't know whether that's me just being misinformed, but I think that by working with the municipal, you guys, that we would be more eligible for grants and funds than going the private route.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know if that's true. Is that true? Don't
know. Okay, so we got about 3 minutes left, so we're just about right on time. I don't see any other hands up, so we didn't receive this. So a motion for receipt. And any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? So that carries, and that concludes our meeting today. So we need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate that.